world was young, the mountains green, no stain yet on the moon was seen.
Then with a crash came a great ringing shout. Ra, boom, ra.
3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the dark lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie.
It's talking about Tolkien.
It's talking about Tolkien, Nate.
Chad the Lad. And we're on chapter 7 of the Two Towers.
It is chapter 7.
Helm's Deep.
This is where it all starts coming together.
This is the end. According to the movie, this is the final chapter. So we're done with the book after this.
I don't even think that was the end of the movie, was it?
Pretty much.
I'm confused now because the movie, obviously, like the way the books are arranged, book 3, Sam and Frodo aren't in it. But in the movie, The Two Towers, it's obviously mixed together. They cut between them. So do they fight?
They haven't met Shelob yet.
They haven't met Shelob yet.
And
oh no, you're right. It ends with in the movie. It ends with Faramir letting them go, and Sam gives that heroic speech about there's some good in the world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for, which he doesn't give in the book. And then, Faramir lets him go, and Gollum's like, she could do it. Yeah, I remember now. I'm with you.
yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter because you could throw out. This is one where it's like everything that happened in Helm's Deep in the movie, basically just throw that out of your memory. The book is totally different.
Completely.
They use many of the same words to refer to things, but the things they refer to are different. So Helm's Deep in the book is a meticulously planned military operation that
slash a kind of spur of the moment thing, like in the sense that they're going to the Fords of Isen, and then they're like, oh shit, well I guess we gotta go to Helm's Deep, and they don't have prep time. I mean, they had prep time in the sense of what's his nuts rebuilt the castle and the castle has been prepared, but Theoden does not have prep time. He does not go to the castle for several days and prep it. And Aragorn doesn't have a fake death and comes back later to flirt with what's-her-nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's not even here. She's at a different fortification over in the east.
Well, in an interesting move, I think this is it happens in the movie as well, but maybe it's underplayed in both the movie and the book. Éowyn is given authority to rule in Theoden's stead. Which I think is pretty progressive on Tolkien's part, actually. There's a lot of those guys out there who would say that...
Yeah, we don't even have a woman president yet. Oh, God.
I mean, that comes up in history. Like, there were definitely women, commanders and sovereigns and all that, but it's almost always like special circumstances. And it's almost always the result of like a political divide. And so for Éowyn to be appointed, there were definitely men who tried to appoint female heirs, and that was always rejected. I mean, that's what the anarchy started about. But yeah, Theoden's pretty progressive, and the people of Rohan, I guess, are pretty progressive.
Maybe we should do that, but with dragon.
Yeah. But yeah, Theoden and the people of Rohan accept Éowyn as a ruler, and that is interesting, and nobody ever accused Tolkien.
Well, she'll be underneath Aragorn, the King Returns, so it's all good. Like, you can have power, but you can't have the executive position, you know? Like, we'll give you the Secretary of Defense. We'll give you the Secretary of Defense, but like President,
I think that's still pretty intense. For Theoden.
He was old. He was pointing to someone else at the time, and everyone else just said it was Eowyn, and they just kind of rolled with it. He was really pointing at Chad Dingleton over there.
Yeah, because even in like Norse saga and myth, I mean, shield maidens are a thing, Valkyries are a thing, and they lead.
Yeah, they are,
but not on this scale. Not of the whole kingdom. That's an interesting thing Tolkien added.
It's a man's job, Ben.
I know. I just think it's a little progressive thing that kind of goes understated, and
it's man's world, Ben.
I feel like a lot of the people who criticize modern adaptations.
You know what we should do when they remake the Lord of the Rings adaptations in like 10 years? They need to make Eowyn a man.
Yeah, somehow we've gotten very turned around on it. Yeah, on representation. In fact, it would be better if it would gender swap the whole thing.
There you go.
No, I remember when the Lord of the Rings Magic cards came out. Magic the Gathering has been doing these like I forget what they call them. It's like Realms Beyond or something where they just do media tie-ins. And they got permission somehow to do Lord of the Rings.
Dogs and cats.
They did do a dogs and cats one, yeah. The Final Fantasy card versions are up to like, I think my brother-in-law paid like $90 for a commander deck, which is insane.
Christ.
That's insane for a pre-built, just off-the-shelf deck, but whatever. No, in the Lord of the Rings ones, they in the card art they made Aragorn black.
Oh, I'm offended.
That pissed off a lot of the people you would expect it to piss off.
All right. So anyway, Helm's Deep.
Here's the plan. They're riding out with the intended mission of reinforcing the crossing of the ford of Isen, the only place where an army of any size with wagons and supply train could cross the river Isen.
Yeah, that's kind of an important thing that it would be weird if you didn't point out that you need to like supply your army over land and like, you know. Anyway, yeah.
Well, and that's the reason it gets lost in a lot of fantasy stuff, but that's the reason these crossings become important. Like, yeah, a bunch of troops could probably just raft across or swim across, but you need to get.
But they're not the United States Army. They can't requisition a shitload of pontoon boats to get an entire army across. Hoorah!
Hoorah! So this is a critical crossing. If they hold this, Saruman can't get his troops across, and he can't invade, and they're good.
Yeah, easy. Let's do it.
Unfortunately, they have already lost the ford of Isen by the time Theoden arrives.
That would be why this chapter is not called the Ford of Isen. It's called Helm's Deep.
I am interested. Maybe you should do the summary because I'm interested in the things that jump out to you as the more like military fiction oriented of us.
Yeah, so they don't light fires, but they do post guards around their camp, and they send out scouts in the night. What a novel concept. That was where your enemy army is.
That was actually the first thing I was going to bring up, how Tolkien actually deals with the fog of war, how he emphasizes scouting and caution, because they don't know what's going on. They don't have that video game view.
And Legolas sees a dark shape come down the mountain from Isengard, but even he can't make out what it is because there's a dark veil over it, Ben. And then on this page, I just wrote Tolkien gets a 5 for word choice because he's just describing a dark sunset.
In the afternoon, the dark clouds began to overtake them. A somber canopy with great billowing edges flecked with dazzling light. The sun went down, blood red in a smoking haze. The spears of the riders were tipped with fire as the last shafts of light kindled the steep faces of the peaks of, here we go, Thrihern. I don't know how to say that one.
Nope, I think he got it right. First try.
I do kind of now. People always criticize Tolkien's description of every tree, and I guess in this case, a sunset. But it is interesting, I think, that as they approach battle, for the people there, I can imagine like time slowing down a bit. Like when the anxiety rises and the blood pressure's up, you start to take in all the information, and everything becomes just a little more real to you. So I think,
it's a way of drawing it out a little and deepening the reader's anxiety as well. What's about to happen? Sun's going down. He doesn't just write, and then sun went down. Look, if you can't handle the heat, Ben, get out of the kitchen.
what is the heat in this case?
The heat in this case is long, drawn-out descriptions of nature shit.
Oh, I agree. If
you have to weather that or go away.
If you don't like the way Tolkien talks about trees, the problem is you. I'll die on that hill. I've started looking around my neighborhood. I literally had the thought the other day as I was walking around. I walked past a house, and I live in like what used to be farmland turned into developments and stuff. So like,
and there's a well, yeah.
A lot of the trees are new, but then I noticed like an old tree. It was huge, and I was like, "That's a nice tree." I get it now. I get what he sees.
As someone who bought a house, the only house in like the entire neighborhood that had no trees, and we had to plant our own. Yeah, I get it. Why is my yard naked? Who decided that was a good idea? Are you stupid? Get a tree in here. You had 50 years to plant a tree. What were you doing?
Boy, if that's not a metaphor for like the whole environmental crisis, I don't know what is. That's basically it too. Like you had 50 years to plant a tree. What the fuck were you doing? Being a big 80s businessman, Gordon Gekko, Wall Street. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, fuck you.
Fuck you. Anyway, what does Theoden do next?
So there's a solo horse riding towards them, and he is some guy. I don't think he has a name.
Well, there's a guy riding
looking
on
for
the horse.
Éomer.
The horse isn't some guy.
Yeah, there's a guy on the horse. And he tells them, first of all, he's asking for Éomer because he doesn't realize that the king is no longer being an old loser.
It doesn't even occur to him that the king would be out here.
Yeah. So what happened is the men were beaten back across the river in a fight against orcs and the bad men of Dunland.
All Isengard must be emptied, and Saruman has armed the wild hillmen and herdfolk of Dunland.
Yeah. We gave them a shitty name because we hate them. So, then we took up defenses on this side of the river, only to be hit with another force on this side of the river. It sounds like Saruman made a crossing further up the river and sent a force across that way, is what it sounded like to me. So they got hit across the river, and then they got hit by a force that had crossed elsewhere.
I don't know if that was my reading. Let me see here.
That was my reading, and then I watched a YouTube video that indicates that I was right. So, I mean, it has to be right.
So we were driven back yesterday over the Isen with great loss. Many perished at the crossing. Then at night, fresh forces came over the river against our camp.
I guess it could just be they got reinforced, and those reinforcements came across the river.
Yeah.
Either or.
Yeah. I don't think it says anything We don't know where they came from. They just know they got hit. They got hit in the middle of the night. Fog of war. And it could be that Tolkien wrote somewhere else that specifically happened, and I'm just not aware of it because...
I mean, Caesar, I believe he did that in... Crap, where was that? Probably multiple places, honestly. Can't remember if that was in Britannia or Gaul. But it's happened throughout history, not just Caesar. He's not special, Ben.
He's not special. Is Caesar's not special or Tolkien's not special? Or
Caesar's not special. Saruman's not special. He learned it from Julius Caesar. I'm not impressed.
Julius Caesar's in the future. If anything, Julius Caesar learned it from Saruman.
Time is a big ol' donut, Ben. So what happened now? Saruman learned it from Caesar in the future, but it was actually the past.
One thing I wanted to call out at this point is the wild men of Dunland.
Yeah.
As we talk about the wild men that fight for Saruman. So Sauron has the Easterlings, and the Easterlings come from other nations. They are organized, they have their own culture, all of this. The wild men of Dunland are, I would guess...
We know they're on the wrong side of history because they're trying to dethrone a black man.
Well, this is interesting because I'm going to... Speaking of the wrong side of history here, I'm going to throw you for a loop.
Uh-oh.
I think the Dunlanders might be the indigenous people.
Ooh, well.
And
they were just in the way, Ben. And we needed to manifest our destiny. Sorry.
Rohan made an alliance with Gondor and maybe Arnor. That those two kingdoms agreed that this land could be theirs. But I think there might have already been some people here.
Yeah, well, they should have been at that treaty signing then, Ben. I mean,
yeah, they probably should have.
On them.
They probably should have.
It sounds like they should have gotten themselves a place at that table, and they just, you snooze, you lose, right? That's how that works. Manifesting my destiny, Ben.
It's an interesting entanglement there, and you will notice Tolkien, I think, has some regard for this because both Theoden and Aragorn will deal much less harshly with the human participants.
Oh, I figured that was just because, orcs bad, humans good.
Well, that is part of it, that the humans are more redeemable, but I also think that they acknowledge that Saruman exploited a very real tension there. Like there's a reason they fell for, like they're not just like orcs. They don't just love carnage and stuff. They have a real gripe with Theoden. That's why they agreed to work for Saruman. And going along with that, I just wanted to point out, because it's so popular, that I'm not saying that this is the only inspiration for this, but it bears a striking resemblance to the hill tribes in Song of Ice and Fire that Tyrion winds up recruiting. They have a similar relationship. Like
those are also bad guys. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they're also an indigenous people that have had their land taken by a more technologically advanced civilization.
Yeah. Look, we had to manifest our destiny across the veil, Ben.
And?
It was God told us to do it. You gonna tell God not to? You're gonna tell God no? No, absolutely not. You say yes, sir, and you just start building McDonald's everywhere and shooting buffalo.
Have you ever seen Philomena Kunk?
That doesn't sound like a real thing, Ben.
You would love it. It's this lady who is just utterly bored by history, science, and everything, who has to make documentaries. And she does one on America. It's a comedy show, but she interviews experts, and the experts are told to like answer as straight faced as possible.
I've seen YouTube like little commercials or something of her.
Yeah. So there's one where she does America, and
But Americans back then weren't the humble, unassuming people they still aren't today. They believed in something called manifest destiny, the belief that all the land belonged to them, and that God wanted them to go west and claim it back from the Native Americans he put there first by mistake. But manifesting your destiny was dangerous. You had to trundle across a perilous landscape in a rickety wagon on the brink of starvation or shitting yourself to death with dysentery, getting bitten by snakes or butchered by Apaches, almost as if God didn't want them to do this after all.
That was a test.
Yeah, that was a test. It's one of his funny jokes, you know.
Yeah, God's a funny guy sometimes. He wanted to know if we wanted it badly enough. You know, like when he's like, I need you to kill your son. Gotcha. You were gonna kill your son, but nah. It's a joke. Like, yeah, I need you to manifest your destiny, and whoopsies, some of you guys are just going to be at the bottom of the ocean now. Joke. It's a joke, Ben. Everyone had a good time, except for most of the people.
That's the sides, case. Really. That's the case, yeah, often.
So, Erkenbrand, Ben.
Erkenbrand.
He was at the ford. The ford was, as far as they could tell, a total slaughter. They think he got out and head towards Helm's Deep. You guys, you ought to go back to Doris. We're screwed. And then, like, Theoden comes forward. And this guy is just, like, jazzed that the king is out and about and on his horse and ready for war. He's so in awe of his king here. And they're like, no, we're not going to run. We're going to Helm's Deep.
Yes. And we've noted before, but Helm's Deep is Erkenbrand's seat. He has a castle there.
For some reason, I forgot his name, so I wrote Earl Fred or something. And then
Not even close.
Went back and was like, Erkenbrand. Perfect.
Yeah. And Erkenbrand will be a character going forward.
So you kind of undersold in earlier chapters when you talked about how Helm's Deep is a manned castle with like actual crew. Because not only is it a manned castle, but they realized in the preceding years that the state of the world was a little tense, Ben. And they've actually been repairing sections that have fallen into disrepair. They've fixed walls. They've readied this castle for the eventuality of a war breaking out. Which again, in the movie, it's just like an old ghost castle inside of a mountain that we're all going to run away to. And
yeah, so there's actually, if you go to TolkienGateway.net and you look up Helm's Deep, they have a drawing Tolkien actually made of Helm's Deep and the Hornburg. And it's set up a little different than it looks in the movie. So there is the castle with its ringed walls on a raised mound. And that castle sits in front of and off to the side of the chasm. And to finish blocking off the chasm, they've built another wall that goes from the castle to the rocky face.
Yeah, I want more walls. Let's just keep building walls.
So there's multiple. The reason I mention all this is there's multiple aspects to this defense that Peter Jackson kind of. I'm actually remembering the movie, and I remember it quite well, and I'm trying to think where.
You remember how there was a bridge and like there's no way for Gimli to get on except like throw me?
Well, they kind of do that in the book too. We'll talk about that.
Nah, they come out of a door.
Well, yeah, the toss me thing was
they just run out there and they start killing people, because if you don't have that, you have to like jump across a bridge to attack your foe to prevent them from ramming down your door. It's not
I'm trying to think though. So in in the movie, they're all standing on a very poor representation of a battlement. Like they're all standing atop a wall.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But then when they get down from the wall, they're inside the ring fort.
Yeah.
So it's not set up like it is in the book.
Yeah, because they did it better, Ben, by they, and also, Ben, they had elves in the movie.
Yes, they
which
did.
does kind of defeat the purpose of, like, man has to figure this shit out for himself at this point.
Well, and the interesting thing is, in the movie, let's talk about that real quick because it doesn't come up at all in the book, and we might as well since we've touched
there's
on
no
it.
time in the book. We're all the Fort of Eisen is lost. We've got to go right now to reinforce Helm's Deep before the orc horde gets there. There's no time for us to get elves from the nearby forest.
No, hear me, because
which
Gandalf's
there's a nearby forest. It's on the other side of the fucking country.
Well,
but
there's
anyway,
going to be a forest a lot more nearby soon.
Well, yeah, but there aren't any elves in there.
So
I completely forgot that one, by the way. But okay, we'll go with what you're saying.
The movie, Gandalf says to Aragorn, Theoden's leading them into a trap. Look for my coming at the first light on the fifth day, or something like that.
Oh, so it was stupid to go to Helm's Deep in the movie.
In the movie, it was stupid to go to Helm's Deep. And in the movie, they're retreating.
What was the alternative movie, Gandalf?
To ride out and meet them in the open field.
Open combat?
He wanted to ride out and meet them in an open field, which is what they do in the book, kind of. I mean, they're not going to ride out and meet them in the open, but they're trying to ride out to the front line to hold positions. In the movie, they lack a clear objective, but also in the movie, Saruman's goal is genocide. And in the book, Saruman's goal is conquest. And they're very different because he's going to do very different. Yeah. He's not going to kill all the people. There's no reason to believe he wants to kill all the people. Now, he is going to enslave them and do terrible things to them, so you don't want to just let him in. But with those objectives in mind, Saruman's trying to capture objectives as he goes. He's trying to capture the resources and the locations that he needs to be able to field his army and move forward with his campaign. He's not just randomly slaughtering every human being he sees. And in the movie, they retreat to Helm's Deep, which I guess in the movie logic is not closer to the armies of Saruman.
Inside of an ancient mountain, Ben.
Yeah, they kept all of that, but they make it seem like Theoden's retreating. But
they make it seem like he's running away as like this is the last bastion of our people.
But in the map of Middle-earth, Helm's Deep is much closer to the front line than
much closer. It's on the front line.
Yeah.
That's what it's designed to do. It's designed to defend against attacks from the west.
So in the book, Gandalf urges Theoden to ride out and meet the enemy. Or in the movie, Gandalf urges Theoden to ride out and meet the enemy. In the book, Theoden does ride out.
Would lose that fight
and meet the enemy to an extent.
The whole point of the castle is it's a strength multiplier. They barely win with the castle helping them.
Theoden has cavalry, and as far as I know, the orcs do have wolf riders.
Yeah, wargs.
And somebody has made a point. I think it's there's a really good blog on this. It's it's something of unmitigated pedantry. I'll link it in the description. But he talks about how cavalry is only when you're riding horses.
Okay.
The technical term for it. So if you're riding elephants, it's elephantry. If you're riding wolves, it's the wargery or something.
I'm going to call it elephant cavalry. And
you'd be wrong because
that's
that
okay.
implies the horses.
I'm eventually going to reinvent the language so that I'm right.
That's what Tolkien did.
Goddamn right.
So anyway, Theoden doesn't have the numbers to just take this army on. Like the guy said, it's like Saruman emptied all of Isengard for this. And
because he did.
Yeah, because he's desperate.
Yeah, he knows that no one trusts him, and he's got to get what he can now. And it turns out he didn't have all that much.
So, in the movie, here's the confusing thing. So all of this to say, Gandalf says, "Look to my coming in 5 days," and then he rides off somewhere, and then they go to Helm's Deep.
5 days, yeah.
So 5 days is the maximum amount of time between Elrond having a psychic conversation with Galadriel and I guess Elrond sending an army from Rivendell?
Where did those elves come from? Because there's no elvish like lands near this, right?
Galadriel, Lothlorien is the closest, and the guy that shows up is one of Galadriel's guys, like the only elf with lines.
How would that have taken? It would have taken him a real long time.
It would have taken them at least as long as it took Aragorn to get there, unless they ran the way Aragorn ran. Lothlorien is also sieged at this point.
And also, so would Helm's Deep.
Yeah. So now here's the confusion I have in the movie, right? And you could say it doesn't matter, and maybe it doesn't, but like this isn't just silly because somebody did plan it out and somebody did offer you a very logical reason why all these things are happening and how war actually works or worked back then. And what I take to happen in the movie is Galadriel talks to Elrond, and in their talking, Galadriel seems to be trying to convince Elrond that they shouldn't leave the humans to die so that Elrond will send forces. Maybe they are sending a joint force. There's absolutely no way for these elves to even march from Lothlorien, which is on the right side of the Misty Mountains, at least, in 5 days. Now, Elrond's forces would...
In that one chapter where they're just walking along the mountains and Pippin's like, oh, cool, we see Mount Doom. And they're like, no, Pippin, try again.
So Elrond's forces would have to cross the Misty Mountains, which, by the way, those paths are now watched and monitored, and there's going to be bands of orcs raiding them the whole time. And same for Galadriel.
Elrond loads up his armored personnel carriers, and he sends them across the terrain. It only takes 3 days at top speed to get.
This brings me to another point. Elrond doesn't have an army.
Hey, he's got that one guy, though.
Who? Who are you talking about?
Glorfindel, right?
He's got Glorfindel, I guess.
Yeah, send him in.
That's sort of the thing. All the Elven kingdoms, they have guards. They have like a police force.
It's also like, all right, here are my choices. Run in there and die. Endless paradise on the islands. Run and die.
That's the thing. What would have made up the Elven armies is gone.
Yeah, they're leaving.
Yeah, so there's not enough elves. They've been
leaving for a while now.
They barely have enough elves to defend their kingdoms. They could not spare a bunch of archers. And here's the reason I think this matters, and I think it maybe makes the movie a little bit worse, or it undermines the message. And I think that's the thing. The movie undermines some of the message of the book. They're in deep trouble. They can't just move armies around willy-nilly like this.
Yeah, if they could do that, then why didn't they send an elf army to Gondor? I think Gondor needed it more.
Yeah, and I think that's yeah, why did the elves leave after the fight?
Yeah. We won Helm's Deep. See you guys.
Yeah.
Everyone gets one. Sorry.
That's an interest. I guess, did all the elves die in the fight? I don't know. And it undermines how screwed they are, because that's the thing. The fellowship in the books is just constantly moving from like the skin of their teeth, getting through every situation. Like every way they go through is closed after they go through it. When they leave Lothlorien, they are told, you leave now or you don't leave. When they leave Rivendell, they're told, you leave now or you don't leave. Like the armies of Mordor are closing on every kingdom all at once. And now Saruman is there too.
Yeah, and again, they also kind of weakened Sauron. We talked about this all the last book. Like, Saruman was the one doing the thing on the mountain, and maybe the orcs in Moria. Saruman is there too, is the appropriate way of saying it. You've got Sauron, he's Germany, right? And then you got like Italy or Austria-Hungary, depending on which war you want to look at.
Well, I understand.
As Saruman.
I understand why for the movie they want to put a face to the bad guy, and Sauron doesn't really show up in the book or the movie. And people have asked Tolkien about that. Why didn't Sauron show up? Why didn't they have a big fight?
Scarier this way.
Well, and I think he was writing. He was writing from his experience with war. You don't see Hitler in the trench.
I mean,
you're gonna fight
maybe
that
in that war.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. You might have seen Hitler in the trench, actually. Yeah, he might have been.
In which case, you shouldn't have missed. You should.
But yeah, you don't see the leaders as a grunt. Maybe from afar. Sauron, the fact that he doesn't need to show up.
Yeah, he doesn't need to.
Is more.
Why do I need to personally go out and kick your ass? That's what I have this army for. And guess what? You're gonna beat my army by the skin of your teeth. I've still got more army. I can just keep sending more and more army at you. What are you gonna do?
It's an interesting thing, because in a lot of modern fantasy, and even a lot of the old sagas, the sagas are about the people, the Aragorns, the kings, the warriors who take control of their people and all that, and they fight the big bad guy, and they have those moments. But this is about the everyday person doing just every little thing they can do while the eyes of the great are focused elsewhere. And that's what wins the day.
What did you expect? For Jon Snow to pull out a flaming sword and fight the Night King? Nah. We'll just have Frodo stab him.
Well, and I think Tolkien subverted that expectation way better by just...
100% better, because that was the whole point. It was building up for that.
Yeah, Aragorn's going to 1v1 Sauron? No, he's not.
Yeah, I mean, it was never even in the cards, though. It's very clear that Aragorn wouldn't win that fight. It's all about Frodo getting the ring to the mountain. It would be weird if they built it up as Aragorn is going to solo Sauron, and then, like, oh no, over there, Frodo threw a ring in the mountain and game over. What I'm saying is those guys are idiots and they can't write. Anyway, so we're going to Helm's Deep, and also Helm's Dyke, and also Helm's Gate. There's a lot. Helm has a lot of things. And I'm sure, do you have any lore on who or what Helm did? He's like some hero from an ancient time.
Helm Hammerhand.
Yeah.
I don't actually, off the top of my head, know a lot about Helm Hammerhand. I know that dumb anime movies about him. Kind of.
Oh.
I think the legend goes he's called Helm Hammerhand because he punched a guy once and he died. And it was
So,
perhaps an unwise thing to do.
Next time we'll have One Punch Man's Deep.
Yeah, Saitama's Deep, Saitama's Gate.
They mentioned, so there are secret ways in like through the hills and caves and whatnot, and they're like, don't trust those because Saruman has been scouting and spying for years, decades. He probably knows every way into Helm's Deep that there is to know at this point. They do manage to make it there ahead of the orcs. There are some like roving bands of orcs, like the Vanguard, or scouts of their own, but they scatter ahead of the army of the Rohirrim.
And Gandalf at this point has ridden off. He didn't tell him why.
Gandalf
he was
is like, go to Helm's Deep, and he goes. He's going to rally the men who survived the fight of the battle of the ford of Eisen. That's a lot of words. He's going to find as many survivors as he can, rally them, and get them as reinforcements, basically. Get them back in the game, coach.
Yeah.
The Rohirrim make it to Helm's Deep. They leave a rear guard to help defend Helm's Dyke. And Gimli's talking about how riding the horse tires him out, so he needs to start lopping off heads to shake the weariness from his bones. Talks about how he really likes this mountain. It's got strong bones, Legolas. It's got strong bones. And then we're joined in battle. It starts with you see some lights down below, and they're immediately snuffed out because the orcs learned the hard way. You shouldn't be lighting fires at night in enemy territory. They will home in on you and take you out. And it's not just arrows, it's also like stones and shit. Like anything that can be used as a weapon, a missile weapon, is used. And then it starts lightning, Ben.
It is dramatic.
And yeah.
They get like one frame at a time looking at the army.
The orcs start to gain a foothold in Helm's Dyke, and they start, what is it? Is it cresting it? That's the word I'm looking for. They get up and over the dike.
Yeah, it's like an earthwork defense that
is
meant to slow them down and give the defenders an advantage.
Yeah. It also can funnel people into it, but it's a pretty big, a whole bunch of orcs can go through this. But it does slow them down. That's the whole point. And then they start slowly making ground. They make some ground, they fall back. And they make some more ground, and they fall back. And they keep getting closer and closer with each subsequent wave until they're at the gates with rams trying to bust the gates down, Ben. So Aragorn and Éomer get a squad of dudes, and they charge out of a nearby door next to the gate. Bunch of guys charge out and kill or drive off the attackers. The gate's pretty fucked right now. And there's this fun little thing with Éomer and Gimli, because they're like, all right, we can get back inside. And some of the orcs weren't actually dead, Ben. They were just laying around, sleeping on the job, Ben. They get back up. Bam! One of them is on top of Éomer. And then suddenly that guy doesn't have a head. That orc is now headless. Gimli, leaps into the throng, screaming about Khazad or something.
So yeah,
he's got his own dwarven battle cry.
They all have
here
battle
for some
cries.
blood.
Baruch Khazad Aimenu. And Éomer, of course, shouts Gutwine, which is the name of his sword, battle friend.
Gucci.
And you better believe Aragorn is screaming Anduril at the top of his lungs.
He also screams Elendil. He's got 2 battle cries because he's the king.
Yeah.
So
does Legolas scream anything?
I don't think he does.
No,
Legolas is more the silent, I'm going to shoot you with an arrow from like 30 miles away type of
Legolas
guy.
is barely in this chapter.
No, he's just back there shooting orcs. The only time we see Legolas is when Gimli or Aragorn comes back from the front lines and they're like, how's it going? It's like, I'm still shooting people, or I'm out of arrows.
I'm out of arrows. I haven't come over the hill yet. Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, he saves Éomer and they get back inside. The gates, it sounds like the gates are pretty screwed. Even though they stop the ram, they're busted pretty hard. So they throw up like a makeshift barricade. So even if you go through the gates, now there's a barricade waiting you on the other side. So it's just a little extra defensive measure. And yeah, Gimli and Legolas actually do the counting game where they're like, hey, what's your score? I got 7. How many you got? Legolas is like, I took 20, but now all my arrows are spent. So he spends a lot of the time like scavenging for arrows. But he's also got that knife. He does pull out the knife later on.
Yeah, and there is the section which this makes up the bulk of the movie, I feel like, the assault on the Deeping Wall.
Oh yeah, where it ends with the explosion.
Yeah, so the orcs and the hillmen, they use ropes, grappling hooks,
ladders too.
They do use ladders. And there's an interesting thing that I think it's a court of unmitigated pedantry. He pointed out,
is that the next book in the Court of Thorns and Roses?
Maybe. No, he pointed out that this guy's a history professor or something, and he pointed out that there's a difference in the book that he feels is clearly intentional, and I kind of agree, between Theoden's well-organized semi-professional forces and Saruman's poorly managed undisciplined
they're
forces.
Swarming. That's their whole thing. They're just going to throw bodies at this problem until you're done.
And he points to things like lighting fires, raiding when you should be marching forward.
They despoil the land on the way to Helm's Deep, and it's like, could you not? Like, we're on a timetable here, guys. You can step on the puppy later or whatever. You don't have to destroy every blade of grass you come by.
And Unmitigated Pedantry points out that if the orcs had not wasted time doing that, if they had rallied around a general, like if the general had gotten hold of his troops and gotten them into order and marched immediately, they would have caught Theoden in the field.
Yeah.
And they would have stopped him from getting to Helm's Deep, and they might have been able to avoid this whole thing.
Yeah, they would have been able to fight him in the field and then face a much weakened Helm's Deep.
Yes. And now they're resorting to really, and we'll see the difference between the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, the assault on Gondor, and this, where Sauron is bringing siege towers. He's bringing giant rams. These guys have grappling hooks, ropes, ladders. This is terrible.
And they have battering rams that are handmade, like they're just like hunks of wood that we're gonna beat your door with.
Yeah, they are not equipped for a siege because what's gonna happen? You put a ladder against the wall, they're gonna kick it over. You put a grappling hook against the wall, they're gonna throw it off.
It's because Saruman is a poser.
It's because this is his first time commanding an army, and he's not even there.
How hard could it be? How hard could commanding an army be anyway? You just get more soldiers and you go get them, guys.
Well, it's the interesting thing because I don't know who the commander of Saruman's army is. Saruman's not
As
there.
far as I know, the commander of his army died in chapter 2.
And the commander, but we know Sauron has the Witch King, the Ring Wraiths. Each Ring Wraith was in his own right a battle commander. They were all kings.
We're never going to replace Ugluk.
He was the best of us. But yeah, what you're seeing here is the difference between Theoden, who has commanded men in battle many times, and Saruman. And I'm quoting heavily or borrowing heavily from this article, and I will definitely link it, and I suggest you read it. But the Unmitigated Pedantry author also points out that Saruman has this. Now, this guy's a history professor, so he said Saruman has what he sees in a lot of like STEM people, where they're very,
you mentioned this. Yeah.
They're very, very smart at something that is very, very complicated. And so they just kind of assume they're going to be that smart at everything. Like this, literally, it's not rocket science attitude to generaling. Like if
how hard could it be? I have my own ring of power. I've made my own army. Easy. This will be easy. I'll take him out.
Yeah, and he feels that Tolkien is making fun of Saruman and people like Saruman.
The next chapter, it does feel that way. When you go into Isengard and you're like, oh, this is sad, man. I kind of feel bad for him. He's kind of a loser, isn't he?
Well, it is Saruman 100% underestimates. Like, he thinks, I have all this knowledge, I have all this magical power, I have all this like lineage behind me. I'm literally one of the Maiar. Like,
yeah, I'm Saruman.
How is this
many colors?
What is this 70-year-old human grunt of a king gonna do to me? And it's like, well, the difference is he's commanded armies at least once before. And it turns out commanding armies is a skill that needs to be developed.
Yeah. So, yeah. And unfortunately for him, it's not going to go his way. So the orcs do try and come in through the caves, it sounds like, right? Was that the caves? And Gimli charges in with a force, beats him back.
Yeah, I believe, is it Gamling or Hama that goes into the caves? So Gimli Eomer,
charges in.
Gimli, Eomer, and
Hama.
Eomer's not there yet. Yeah, but they eventually wind up separating.
And Gimli, I think, is like, he wants to stop up the cave or something. Basically barricade that too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're looking at trying to undo some of the damage that's been done. And Gimli is, of course, being a dwarf lord, is basically a master mason by default. He has that stone cunning.
Unfortunately, he doesn't have the tools. He's just got this axe, but he'll do what he can. So, right now the score, by the way, 21-24 in favor of Legolas.
It's been knife work up here, but what a catch-up. I mean...
Yeah. Gimli, he's putting points on the board. They keep on coming, and then eventually, loud explosion. Some of that wizard magic, that wizardry from Isengard. The devilry, Ben. They've blown open a chunk of... It sounded like it came from the caves, but it makes more sense if they blow open like a gate or part of the wall.
This is similar. They crept into the culvert again. So I think it's where the river runs through.
Okay, that's what they tried the first time. Gimli held them off, and then they got in and blew it up. Okay, I'm with you. So,
and Aragorn's, you can hear him, Elendil, echoing off the walls.
So Aragorn does hold them back for a little bit of time to allow the defenders to retreat to the citadel, Legolas is there with one whole arrow, ready to shoot one whole orc if it comes after Aragorn, and then, I guess charge in with a knife, but it doesn't come to that. So they get back to the Citadel, and Theoden is like, well, shit. Guess that's it then. We're going out in a blaze of glory. And Aragorn is like, well, it said that no one's ever taken the Hornburg as long as men defended it. So, they talk about how the day is coming. And even though the Uruk-hai are not really affected by the day.
Well, Gamling has, I wanted to point out Gamling's quote here. He says, "Dawn is not far off, but I fear dawn will not help us." And Aragorn says, "Yet dawn is ever the hope of men." There's an interesting lore bit there because men awoke at the first dawning of the sun.
Hell yeah.
So when
elves.
Yeah, when Aragorn says dawn is ever the hope of men, when the Valar finally put the sun in the sky, that was when men awoke. And
Sweet.
Gamling then responds,
Did dwarves awake after men?
Oh, no, they do. Dwarves do awake after men. That was Error's stipulation, I think. But Gamling goes on to say, but these creatures of Isengard, these half-orcs and goblin men, that the foul craft of Saruman has bred, they will not quail at the sun, and neither will the wild men of the hills. So while they may be able to, deal with some of these orcs that came from Moria, if they're still in the mix, the bulk of the army is over that particular weakness.
So, and this is, as you mentioned, Gimli has been separated from the rest of them at this point. Legolas is like, that's unfortunate. Also, I'm at 39.
Yeah. I must go and seek some arrows. Would that this night would end and I could have better light for shooting.
So the dawn is starting to break. Aragorn, he's on top of the gate to the Citadel. He's parlaying with them, Ben.
I did enjoy that.
I thought this was kind of funny because he's like, all right, guys, here are my terms for your surrender.
You ready to give up? Had enough?
You done getting your asses kicked already? Yeah, no. They're like, what? Like, no, we're gonna, like, either you send the king out here, or we're gonna come in there and get him, and we're gonna kill all of you. You've got nothing to offer. We're about to win. And Aragorn's like, all right, I guess that, just so you know, if you don't surrender now and leave, all the orcs are gonna die. There'll be no mercy for you. Just throwing that out there, guys. So that now's your chance. They do not, in fact, surrender, Ben.
Get down or we will shoot you from the wall, they cried. This is no parley, you have nothing to say. I still have this to say, answered Aragorn. No enemy has yet taken the Hornburg. Depart, or not one of you will be spared. Not one will be left alive to take back tidings to the north. You do not know your peril. We got a lot of stuff back here. A lot of stuff. Legolas has like 2 arrows now.
Yeah, so that's at least 2 kills.
Yep. I'm looking at
maybe
you, guy.
3 if he lines you up.
They do also call themselves, I thought of you. I keep thinking, like, I almost want to make
Fighting Uruk-hai.
I want to make a t-shirt of, like, Nate's on them. Like, I want to make a football jersey. The Fighting
Uruk-hai.
Come down, bring out
We're
your
not
king.
the best in the league.
Fighting Uruk-hai.
We're not the best in the league, but goddamn it, we give it our all.
No, you know what it says? You know what the tagline is? So what of the sun? We come to kill by sun or moon. What of the dawn? What
That's
of
a good
the dawn?
tagline.
The Fighting Uruk-hai.
We need to make it happen.
What do you think? Words About Books merch?
We need to make it happen.
Need to make it happen.
Needs to happen, Ben. So
there's never been a better time to get into textiles than 2025 in America.
Exactly. In America. We're going to do it.
And y'all are going to pay
textiles and coffee.
Yep. Y'all are going to pay a 20% markup for that's the America tax.
Reasons. That's the America tax. 20%, that's pretty generous. Let's go with 30. So then the horn blows and the king rides out, Ben. Theoden and Aragorn, they charge out, and then another horn blows, and surprise! It's Erkenbrander's surprise and his friend Gandalf. I wrote
and
Etherkinder's surprise, like the fuck, like the candy.
So I want you to picture this scene. This should have been in the movie. This, at the very least,
100%. This it should have been like they shouldn't have even explained it. You know,
you don't have to because remember. What you do is you cut to the perspective of the orcs. Here's what the orcs are hearing. Now there is this horn, and this horn that blows from Helm's Deep. It has been designed to use the echo of the caverns to be so loud and so intimidating that the orcs go from teasing Aragorn to, like, some of them just hit the dirt.
Yeah.
They don't know what the hell's going on. And then a second horn sounds and it's behind you. And now
they don't know where to look.
There's a bunch of guys behind you. And then you think about fleeing and you just chance a glance behind you. And there's a fucking forest there now that wasn't there before.
I read that and I was like, wait, what? I do not remember that at all. What?
They did put that in the movie, but they just barely put it in the movie.
I don't even remember that.
The orcs run into the forest that is there, and you hear some sound effects.
Oh, that's kind of lame. I didn't put two and two together then.
Super lame.
No, this is just a forest that's there.
And everybody calls a ton of attention to it.
Yeah, they're all like, are you seeing this? You're also seeing the forest, right?
Did Gandalf conjure a forest? Can you do forests now? and then some of you run into the forest. You see some of the cowardly among you run into the forest, and you hear the screams and the sound of bones being ripped from sockets. And you're just in a meat grinder now. You've got horsemen from the front, horsemen from the side, trees behind, and the horns are blowing.
One is like, parlay? Parlay? Is that surrender option? Is that is that still an option for me to leave? I'd like to get off the ride now. But no, all the orcs are slain to the man.
The orcs wield...
Not all the Dunlanders. There are still going to be some of them at the end of this.
Well, here's what happens. The White Rider was upon them, and the terror of his coming filled the enemy with madness. The wild men fell on their faces before him. The orcs reeled and screamed and cast aside both sword and spear. Like a black smoke driven by a mounting wind, they fled. Wailing, they passed under the waiting shadow of the trees, and from that shadow none ever came again. So the wild men surrender. Gandalf shows up, and they just throw down their weapons and they hands on the ground. And the orcs, they can't stand the sight of Gandalf. They flee. I'm guessing this would be a case of like Gandalf's holiness is evident in this moment, and though they may have learned to stomach the sun, they still can't stomach any amount of the Valar, of the power of the Valar or Eru. which Gandalf is showing them just a flicker of. And that is the battle for Helm's Deep.
It is. We will learn that Gimli won the competition, Ben. I want to get that in there before we end.
Gimli survived. He
Wins
suffered
by
a
1
grievous
point.
head wound.
Yeah.
Gimli had a helmet when he went in. Now he has two halves of a helmet.
That's what the helmet's for. It did its job.
Always wear your helmet when you go into battle. It's good advice for all of us.
Yeah, and multiple kinds of battles. You know what I mean?
But yes, this serves as a complete rout of Saruman's armies. And now they're faced with the daunting task of laying siege to Orthanc. Or are they? Is there anything else from that chapter you wanted to touch on, or anything from the movie?
No, I think that's it.
When I was a kid, I remember being so excited for the Two Towers movie because they were going to do the Battle of Helm's Deep. And I will say, I liked the movies enough. I liked them more when I was younger, but even when I was younger, this one bugged me. Because in the book, it's like Aragorn and Éomer fighting. I think the battle for Helm's Deep is good in the movie, but I think even as a kid, and you tell me if I'm off base on this or if I'm out of pocket on this. Legolas skateboarding down the stairs and shooting arrows
that was
all the
stupid.
while, and then
That was
kick-flipping
very dumb.
I hated that.
he Tony Hawk skateboarded down the stairs and fired a bunch of arrows, and then
he kickflips the shield into an orc and kills him.
Of course, I mean you gotta use the whole skateboard, and yeah, then in the next movie he'll like climb and then like do a little sha and get on top of an elephant.
I actually, even as a kid, I like elves. I like them a lot more than you do. I like Legolas, but
yeah, you would, traitor.
I hate him in the movies. I hate him in the movie. He's so stupid,
and he walks on stones that are falling in the air in the Hobbits.
The Hobbit movies are a disaster. There's nothing. Look, I'll give you that the Lord of the Rings movies, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. I much prefer the books. I think they get very important parts of the story wrong, but they're fine. They're a good adaptation, but they are not the definitive adaptation, and that's the main problem I have with them. I think a lot of people don't reread the books or never read the books, and the books are just so much better that they're worth reading, and that's what I'm trying to advocate for here. The Hobbit movies, he owes us an apology.
He owes us an apology. Yeah, I agree.
They're trash. I mean, they're some of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I think what makes them worse than, say, like, I don't know, Evil Dead is that they had potential. Like, there are movies that are just doomed to be bad. But you can make a decent Hobbit movie. One decent movie.
Yeah. And then you can work on the Edenverse movie.
Yeah, good. There's a lot. You'd have to shoehorn some of those characters together.
We'll have to get some characters from the appendices of Eden Verse 2.
The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road is gone, and I must follow it, if I can, pursuing it with eager feet until it joins some larger way, where many paths and errands meet. And whither then, I cannot say.